So the formalities taken care of, the anthems have been sung, and Kelly was mentioning that Moscow has been a sea of yellow. Certainly there seems to be more yellow in the stands than the blue of Japan at the Mordovia Arena in Saransk, the venue for this Group H opener. Colombia, who so impressed at the last World Cup without their star man James Rodriguez in the starting lineup today. That the headline team news, really. There are plenty of Premier League players in the lineup, though. Davinson Sanchez, who's impressed for Tottenham Hotspur, is a key player for them at the heart of their backline. Jose Izquierdo, Brighton's club record signing, gets a start on the left-hand side. That a bit of a surprise. Juan Quintero, who has been a bit of a maverick over the years, is the man charged with filling that void in the number 10 role that James Rodriguez is unable to occupy today. Radamel Falcao, who struggled for top form when he was at Manchester United and Chelsea, leads their line, and Carlos Sanchez, who had an unsuccessful time at Aston Villa, is the midfield anchor, and he has been a big player for Colombia, which might be hard for Villa fans to believe. A bit of info about the ref today, because they were very firmly in the spotlight in that England game, weren't they, yesterday? Damir Skomina, the Slovenian, taking charge of his first World Cup match. He was in charge of the 2017 UEFA Europa League final when Manchester United saw off Ajax, and we're just getting our shots as well of the VAR team, who are in front of their 9 or 10 screens in the control centre in Moscow. Let's hope that perhaps they're a bit more on the ball than the officials were yesterday. Japan also shorn of one of their key players, with Shinji Okazaki struggling with a calf problem. He is ruled out today. Maya Yoshida, the Southampton centre-half, is at the heart of the Japanese defence, and Yuya Osako is the man who's been charged with leading the line. Only 4 goals for Cologne in the German Bundesliga last season, so not exactly prolific. All the portents, Leon Osman, point towards a comfortable Colombia victory. Can you see anything other than that?
Well, as you said, I think that's the way things are looking. The build-up that Japan have had has been nothing short of horrendous, with qualifying and then sacking a manager and starting to bring in a new guy so close to the tournament. It's not been great preparation for them, but it's never easy when you lose your star man in the week building up to your first World Cup game. So we'll see how that affects Colombia as well, with James Rodriguez not available. But I've heard a lot about Quintero, and that he is a type of person that can unlock doors, and I'm looking forward to seeing him play today.
Well, it's going to be Japan who will get us off and away in all blue kit. Colombia, of course, in their traditional yellow with white shorts and white socks, and Radamel Falcao's immediately having a conversation with Damir Skomina, the referee. I think he was asking whether they were going to swap ends, and the referee caught a bit behind the play there, because indeed they are swapping ends, and it took Radamel Falcao to explain that to the official before they actually did so.
Well, it's a strange one. I mean, to swap ends in the World Cup when it's a largely neutral ground, but I think what's happened is that obviously Falcao must have lost the toss, and you obviously you choose to kick off or swap ends. So he was claiming that the fact that the Japanese are kicking off, that he wants to swap ends, and now we're waiting on that delay as both goalkeepers make it to the other end of the field.
Yeah, the keepers are now in their respective goals, and we are good to go after a bit of a full start. As I mentioned, Japan all in blue, kicking from left to right in this first half, and Colombia in their traditional yellow shirts with white shorts and white socks. It's launched up towards Yuya Osako on the edge of the area, the Colombian area, but he can't make anything of that, and it drifts out of play for a throwing to Colombia. Johan Mojica is operating at left back for them today, after they were shorn of the services of their first choice left back, Fabra, who picked up a ACL injury in their training camp in Italy beforehand. Big setback for them. Here's Juan Cuadrado now hugging the right touchline, his regular position. He's done well at Juventus after a less than impressive period with Chelsea, and he's won a free kick just inside his own half.
Yes, you're right. His time at Chelsea was underrated. He didn't hit the heights that he certainly wanted to. But you know, sometimes when you join a club as early as he did, you look at Mo Salah joining Chelsea as early as he did as well, you need to go away and play a bit of football elsewhere, and you can come back stronger, and that's what Cuadrado's done at Juventus.
Mojica, who I mentioned in the side today, under pressure and conceded possession, which allowed Japan to get away on the right and whipped in towards the Colombian goal. David Ospina makes a gather. He manages to hold on to that one, as Tim Vickery was alluding to earlier on. He's not been in the best of form for Colombia, making some high-profile errors, and there have been suggestions that his lack of game time for Arsenal has been a part of that.
Well, that'll always be the case. You know, players need to be playing not only football but a good level of football, and you know, Ospina is in and out for Arsenal. He's been a bit jittery with his form for Arsenal as well as at times, I'd say, but you know, Colombia have suffered for the fact that he's not playing as regular as they would like.
That's the voice of Leon Osman, goalless between Colombia and Japan with 2 minutes on the clock in Saransk. Neither side able to really put their foot on the ball so far. They did meet in the final group stage game at the 2014 World Cup. Colombia had already qualified at that stage and rested a number of their key men, but they still absolutely walloped Japan, winning that one by 4-1. And a lot of the Japanese squad have been speaking about how that still haunts them, that it was an opportunity for them to go through and they didn't seize it. They froze on the big stage. Nothing doing in terms of any chances for either of the teams so far, though. It's swept out to the left-hand side, and Mojica, who goes for the early delivery looking for Radamel Falcao, can't find him. Kagawa clears away, and the chase now on for Yuya Osako, who could be in round the back here. Osako through on goal, saved by Ospina, and the rebound on the follow-up. Well, they're asking for handball, and the penalty's been given. Shinji Kagawa on the follow-up immediately asked for the handball to be given, and it's a red card as well. Oh my word, what a start for Japan, and what a catastrophe for Colombia. Damir Scamina brandishes the red card, and Colombia are down to 10 men and have conceded a penalty, and it all came about after an error from Tottenham's Davinson Sanchez, who was given the runaround by Yuya Osako.
Well, it was just a long punt up the field by Japan, you know, just clearing the danger from that they've been under, and you're right, Davinson Sanchez got himself in all sorts of issues, and Osako just chased him down, and as the ball was bouncing, managed to suddenly wriggle free. He had a shot on goal, and it was a poor shot, easily saved by the goalkeeper. He must have done better, but the rebound fell perfectly for Kagawa, who controlled a left foot half volley so well. It was incredible, on target. And Carlos Sanchez, I think he's claiming it just hit his arm rather than he made a full leg save with the goalkeeper
now,
but it certainly hit his arm, and you know, the referee's in no doubt enough. He's about to make that walk.
Well, he's certainly not been in conversation with the VAR officials to double check it. I'm sure, in fact I know that they will have looked at it and would have informed him had he made an error, but at the moment Damir Scamina, the referee, is having to urge Carlos Sanchez to leave the field. He's refusing to do so. He could end up in hot water further down the line in the tournament for refusing to leave the pitch. He's been on there for a good couple of minutes now and simply isn't accepting that he's got to go.
Well, he's still by the penalty spot talking to the referee, and yes, it's been a long time. He has to leave the field, and he's arguing because of the fact you build up for a World Cup for so long. It's 3 minutes into his first game, and you know, he's been sent off. Will probably now miss the rest of the tournament.
Shinji Kagawa, the man who won the penalty, is going to take it. Bit of mind games from Radamel Falcao, who's just informing the referee that the ball's not fully on the spot, trying to get inside the head of Shinji Kagawa, who is up against David Ospina from 12 yards out. 5 minutes on the clock, a real opportunity for Japan to take the lead. It's in front of the Colombian supporters, who are doing their best to put off Kagawa. He takes a look down at the ball, starts his run up from the edge of the area and scores coolly, sends David Ospina the wrong way. And could we have another surprise on the cards at the World Cup? Because early on it's Colombia 0, Japan 1.
Wow, it's a fantastic penalty from Kagawa. He was made to wait for an awfully long time. Falcao tried to get in his head, making him move the ball, but he kept his composure, and he's run up to the goalkeeper. He's let the keeper go down to the goalkeeper's right, and he's just opened his body up and rolled the ball into the back of the net. And what a fantastic start for Japan.
Shinji Kagawa with his 31st goal on his 93rd appearance for his country. He has a good scoring record, and he was unerring in his finish just then, sending Ospina the wrong way and sending the Japanese fans and their coach Akira Nishino into raptures. What a brilliant beginning to their World Cup campaign for the Blue Samurai. He injured his ankle in February, Kagawa, and only returned in the final game of the season. There were doubts over his match fitness, but he scored and provided 2 assists in their final warm-up match against Paraguay, and he has scored their first goal of this tournament. It's not just that they lead, Colombia also down to 10 men, and although he didn't impress during his time at Aston Villa, Carlos Sanchez is known as the rock for Colombia, and he's been removed early on, so they're without their rock now for the rest of the game. And as you mentioned, a 3-game ban for a straight red, could well miss the rest of the tournament.
He could, it'll be devastating for him, but the rest of the players have now got to move on as quickly as possible, reorganise themselves, figure out who's playing where, and certainly gain composure in this game for the next 10 minutes. A game they're expected to win. They find themselves 1-0 down and down to 10 men within inside 5 minutes.
That's the voice of Leon Osmond. 7 minutes gone in Saransk, and Japan lead Colombia, 10-man Colombia, by 1-0 with Carlos Sanchez dismissed for handball and Shinji Kagawa converting the resulting penalty. Radamel Falcao trying to get Colombia back on track. Cuadrado has made a run and has slipped it down the line, looking for the run of Santiago Arias, who bombed forwards from right back, but he's unable to get on the end of it, and Japan will have possession back. And you just wonder how they're going to regroup, because there were 2 at the base of their midfield pivots, as they're being called these days, Carlos Sanchez and Jefferson Lerma. Lerma now operating on his own. Izquierdo and Cuadrado are the wingers. You just wonder if Quintero, who's in that number 10 role in place of James Rodriguez, may not be given such freedom and might have to now drop back to try and help out Jefferson Lerma.
Well, at the moment that's what's happened. Quintero is having to drop deep, and it's really leaving Falcao very isolated, and he's not the biggest players of stature, so they're going to have to work incredibly hard to get good quality into him, because that long ball up front that you tend to do when you've got 10 men, asking your centre forward to keep hold of it and bringing players into play, he'll find difficult to do.
Well, there were doubts about playing Falcao on his own up front because of his lack of mobility. He isn't the best with his back to goal either. It sounds strange saying it about a striker, but they say he's not really much good apart from scoring goals. So, although that is the main job of a striker.
It's not a bad knack to have, let me tell you.
But in this situation where they've had to regroup, Falcao could become isolated, and the Japan backline could find that they are able to push forwards without much pressure being put on them. No pressure at the moment on the ball for Maya Yoshida, the Southampton centre-half, who's able to bring it up to just shy of the halfway line. Short pass to Shoji, who knocks it out to the left, and Takashi Inui. Just possession play from Japan at the moment on the left-hand side. It's tickled down the flank for the run of Yuta Nagatomo, the left-back who'd got further forwards than the left winger there. And perhaps we're going to see Japan take some risks and get those fullbacks pushing on, which is a quality that they have. Yuto Nagatomo and Hiroki Sakai are able to operate as auxiliary wingers at times, and with that man advantage that they have, that could come into play.
Well, I'll be interested to see how Japan go about certainly the next 10 or 15 minutes and the game in general, because it's a better start than they would have dreamed of coming into this game. 1-0 up, the opposition down to 10 men. They like to control possession, Japan, and build up slowly, and having an extra man advantage. Now, do they think, well, this is enough, we need to keep possession, or do they go in search of that second goal? And I'm looking forward to see how it develops.
Izquierdo in possession, the bright man is sent it out wide to Arias, who delivers the cross towards the penalty spot region, but can't find a fellow yellow shirt. Bit of passage of possession for Colombia, but it breaks down after Mojica, the man who came into the side for Fabra, the first choice left back, who hasn't had the most auspicious of starts, gives the ball away, but Colombia will come again deep inside their own half with Jefferson Lerma, who spins it out wide to Santiago Arias, the right back who's up further forwards than the right winger Juan Cuadrado in towards Falcao, doesn't have the pace to get there, and Japan can clear their lines.
Well, that's it again. It was great play by Cuadrado. It's something he's got to do time and time again. Now his team are down to 10 men. He's got to take his fullback on. He's got to ask him questions, get by and start trying to deliver something into Falcao. It was a poor pass into Falcao on this occasion, but him and Izquierdo could be vital for Colombia as this game goes on.
Here is Quintero dropping really deep to try and make things happen. That looked like a foul on Juan Cuadrado. The referee doesn't play the advantage, much to Colombia's frustration. They wanted to get on with it, but Demir Skamina's whistle had gone for the challenge by Makoto Hasabi. And it will be a free kick opportunity for Colombia, their first real dead ball situation that they'll be able to toss into the area. They do have a couple of towering centre-backs in there. Davinson Sanchez, the Tottenham Hotspur man, making his way forwards as well.
Well, it's not a great angle. It's quite central, this free kick, but it does give them an opportunity to get players into the Japanese penalty area and try and cause a few problems.
10-man Colombia take the free kick. Good delivery as well, and Falcao couldn't quite get the touch. 6 yards out, and Kawashima makes his first gather of the game.
Well, I think he did get the touch, and it's fantastic front play from Falcao. He comes alive in that penalty area, and as I said, it's quite a straight free kick. It's just been dropped over the two centre-halves, just about on the penalty spot, and he's arrived there, but he's at full stretch with his left foot, and he can only get a toe on it, and the keeper finds it comfortable to save, but so sharp in and around that penalty area.
Yeah, picks up a good position there, Falcao, but didn't get enough purchase on the finish, looking to add to his record haul for Colombia, their all-time top scorer, 29 in 74 appearances before today. Colombia with defending to do now, though. It's been a very open game so far, and the fullback Nagatomo almost in round the back on the left-hand side. Colombia down to 10 men, trailing by a goal to nil. Cuadrado looking for a free kick deep inside his own half on the right-hand side, and Demir Skamina has given it to him, although Takashi Inui, who made the challenge on him, has put himself in a spot of bother as well.
Yeah, I think the referee's just being a little bit soft at the moment. I think he's given a few soft fouls to Colombia at the moment. He's obviously sends one of their players off and give a penalty away, and they feel very hard done to, but I'm not sure that certainly one or two of those free kicks he's given for them are genuine fouls, so Japan have just got to be careful of that.
So Colombia have it in their left back area with Mojica, who knocks it forwards to Jose Izquierdo, who wasn't fancied by many to start this game, the Brighton and Hove Albion winger, and now there's a question about whether there was an arm raised by Haraguchi, and Colombia immediately asking for a red card to be brandished to Genki Haraguchi for his challenge on Johan Mojica. What do you think of that, Leon?
Oh, there's nothing in it. He's just tried to cut inside the fullback, and he's tried to get his arm across his chest, as you do, as you're taught. Your dad will teach you when you're a kid to get your arm across the player as he goes to go past you, and as he's done it, I think it's a Izquierdo just puts his arm there too and lifts it, and his arm ends up just catching him on the underside of the chin, and he's gone down like he's been punched full in the face. The Colombian players are swarming the referee, trying to get the numbers evened, and as I said, Japan need to just be wary that the Colombians will surround the referee when there's any kind of thing happening.
Free kick is tossed into the area by Quintero, but it comes to nothing, and Japan clear up towards the halfway line. David Ospina comes out of his area to meet the ball, has the ball at his feet, knocks it short to Mojica, and Mojica is able to drill it up to Izquierdo, just shy of the halfway line for Colombia. Knocks it back inside for Quintero to try and make up some ground, but showed too much of it, and Japan have it back and have runners either side as Kagawa comes forwards to the edge of the area, might have a pop at goal, knocks it wide instead, and the finish is dragged wide by Takashi Inui. Glorious opportunity for Japan to double their lead, but Inui can't hit the target from about 8 yards out.
Wow, it should be 2-0. Just as the ball comes to him, it's a perfect bit of play by Kagawa. He's realised that they've got 5v4 against the Colombians, and he's just committed. I think it's Lerma in the centre of the field. He's gone past him and rolled a sweet pass into Inui. All he has to do as he's coming off that left is open his body up and play it with his right foot first time, guide it into the far corner, and he scuffed this shot, and the keeper, it went well wide.
Izquierdo on the charge now for Colombia, gets to the byline, gets the cross in as well. Falcao can't reach it. Cuadrado on the edge of the area, a couple of step overs from him, knocks it back for the first time hit, which is fizzed goalwards by Lerma. Comes to nothing, and the Colombian fans really starting to find their voice now.
We've got ourselves a game, haven't we? The Colombians are on the counter-attack. Japan are trying to you're certainly trying to score on the counter-attack as well. And at the moment, we're getting chances at either end.
Quarter of an hour played, Japan leading, courtesy of an early Shinji Kagawa penalty, which saw Carlos Sanchez sent off for Colombia for deliberate handball as Kagawa tried to hit a rebound into an empty net. It has been lively, and it's floated forwards by Quintero, who's going to be the man who's got to try and make things happen for Colombia today. In the absence of James Rodriguez, Colombia's star man, left amongst the substitutes. I don't think he'll be able to come on though, because he would have started if he was fit enough. He picked up a calf injury in training. The Golden Boot winner at the 2014 World Cup, unable to start this one. Mojica on halfway, drills it up towards Falcao, who offloads, but the floated ball over the top is guided back to his keeper by Hiroki Sakai, and Japan have it with their goalkeeper Kawashima.
I'm just saying it's going to be tough for Quintero today. We're expecting him to play off Falcao and get turned, create chances, and at the moment he really is having to play deep as a two midfield alongside Lerma and really be a destructive force to stop the Japanese having good efforts. And it's down to Cuadrado and Izquierdo to support Falcao, and you know, we could lose Quintero, beg your pardon, to a real defensive display today.
Yeah, he is meant to be operating in that number 10 role that James is unable to play in because of injury. He's a real maverick, but he's certainly not a defensive midfielder. But with Carlos Sanchez sent off, that's the job he's being asked to do at the moment. And Jose Peckerman, the Argentine in charge of Colombia, might have to do some rethinking. He's got Cuadrado on the ball here though, bursting up towards the byline on the right-hand side. Cuadrado jinking and weaving and trying to get the cross in, and unable to do so, and unable to even win the corner out of Nagatomo. And that's a bit of an example of why Cuadrado is so frustrating. He can be really good, he can be really bad, and on that occasion he was really bad.
Well, he showed they're really good at the start of it with the pace. And just mentioning Quintero, what a fantastic 70-yard pass. He split the centre-half and the full-back to get Cuadrado attacking the Japanese defence. And you're right, he got there fantastically well. He gets one-on-one just on the outside of the penalty area on the right-hand side, does a couple of step-overs and then just runs it out the field. And you're right, it can be so frustrating if you don't get an end product.
It's the voice of Leon Osman on Radio 5 Live, the first of 3 World Cup games for you in full today. It's a Tuesday, but it feels a bit like a Saturday given the amount of sport that we've got for you. Andy Murray's returned to tennis action at Queen's as well. England against Australia in the 3rd ODI. England can wrap up the series, and it's the first day of Royal Ascot as well. All of that for you on 5 Live Sport. We're with you until 9:30 this evening. Has got a bit of a weekend feel to it, hasn't it, Leon?
Every day's a Saturday while the World Cup's on, isn't it?
And it's been a cracking start to the World Cup action, with Japan leading by 1-0. A surprise scoreline, a penalty converted by Kagawa. Carlos Sanchez sent off, and his red card after 2 minutes and 56 seconds for Colombia, the second fastest in World Cup history after Jose Alberto Batista for Uruguay against Scotland in 1986. That was after just 54 seconds. So a piece of World Cup history, if you will. Second fastest red card, and Colombia looking to recover from that. Cuadrado was about to pull the trigger from 20 yards out. He felt he was fouled, but Damir Skamina disagreed, and Japan can come away on the counter with Takashi Inui on the left-hand side. Davinson Sanchez across is strong in the challenge, and Colombia have it back, and it's got the feel of a basketball match at the moment, the way that possession is just being exchanged so frequently. Quintero now has sent it wide. The low cross from Arias is blocked. Santiago Arias, the full-back, up in a right-wing position. You cannot see this finishing 1-0.
It's absolute mayhem at the moment. As you're saying, it's end-to-end. Both teams are really trying to counter-attack each other as this game's going on, and both sets of players on top of that are going down really easy, asking the referee for free kicks left, right and centre. And at one point there, I think we had more players lying on the floor than we had stood up. It's been an incredible start to this game.
20 minutes played, Japan leading Colombia by 1-0 in Saransk, and perhaps advisably Japan now trying to just bring it down to walking pace a bit and slow the tempo, because if they keep up that sort of pace, it's going to play into Colombia's hands, whereas they need to exploit the man advantage.
Well, incredibly, up until this point, the game had fell into a strange pattern. It was the Colombians keeping the ball, and Japan was sitting back and counter-attacking, and you would think it was the Colombians who had the man extra, but you know, that was the way the game went for probably upwards of over 5 minutes, and now the Japanese are just getting the foot on the ball, just taking the sting out of it, and everybody, both sets of players, are just having a breather.
Japan have it deep inside their own half with Gen Shoji, who squares it to Maya Yoshida. Low pass from him in towards Genki Haraguchi. On the turn is blocked off by the challenge from Mahika, and it drifts out for another Japan throw. Yoshida, again, nobody closing down the space for Colombia, who are down to 10 men. Carlos Sanchez sent off inside of the first 3 minutes. That allows Nagatomo to come forwards unopposed. He's made about 10 yards into the Colombian half. Now knocked backwards to Maya Yoshida in the centre circle, swept to the near side, and Hiroki Sakai, his ball forwards is cut out. Sakai tries to get onto the rebound, and Quintero makes a mess of clearing his lines, so it's picked up by Hasebe, the Japanese skipper, but it drifts out of play for a throw.
Oh, he's got to be better in that position, Hasebe. The ball was headed clear by Davinson Sanchez, and he came onto the bouncing ball. Things opened up in front of him. You thought he may release a shot. If he didn't, he had Osako making a great run, and he decided to be a bit negative, and he turned and played a sideways pass and played it out of play, and he's got no need to be negative at the moment. His team can try things. They're a man up on the edge of the opposition penalty area. Go and try something.
So Japan leading 1-0. With Kagawa's penalty the difference. 22 minutes played in Saransk, and Japan really are taking it down to walking pace now, just trying to take the sting out of things and consolidate their advantage and pick and probe at the 10 men of Colombia and start to try and work out where the weaknesses may be for them to exploit. Hiroki Sakai, tight to the right touchline, has kept in a long crossfield pass, but his header is cut out by Mahika and sent long. And again, it's pumped forwards by Colombia but picked up by Yoshida, and at the moment they seem to have lost their way a bit, Colombia, when they are in possession.
Yeah, the game's fell into the pattern you'd expect now. Japan keeping the ball. Yeah, they're probably not being as attacking as you'd like. They're not probing enough. They're keeping the ball pretty much on the halfway line, but you know, the Colombians have just had 5 minutes of counter-attack, and they're trying to get their breath back themselves, and yeah, the game's just gone a little bit slow.
Overlapping run here from Genki Haraguchi on the right-hand side, and he was stood up well by Yohan Mahika, who just used his body to get between Haraguchi and the ball and shepherded out to the byline, although it looked like it may have got the final touch off Mahika, and indeed it is going to be a Japan corner.
Yeah, fantastic pass by Kagawa. It's a defence splitter. He's just dropped off from the number 10 position over to the right-hand side of his team, in a little pocket in between defence and attack, got turned and played that ball in between the centre-half and the full-back, and his team end up getting a corner, and that's what they've got to do. They've got to keep the ball at times on the halfway line, but suddenly burst into life and try and ask the Colombians questions.
So Japan corner on the right-hand side as they look at things. Damir Skamina, the Slovenian referee, sorting out some funny business in the area, but Japan have taken it short anyway. Inui inside the area, angle against him, has to offload to Shibasaki, who now delivers towards the 6-yard box, and the whistle goes, and on this occasion it goes Colombia's way.
It's a soft one, as far as I can tell. The referee doesn't mind giving soft free kicks to Colombia at the moment. It was just Yoshida and Davinson Sanchez both jumping for the ball, and I've just seen the replay back, still haven't seen a foul, but clever from Japan, realising that the Colombians haven't reorganised from the dismissal. It was their first corner kick, and they played 2v1 and got into the Colombian penalty area, so good to see clever play.
David Ospina has the ball at his feet just outside the 6-yard box. He's had nothing to do apart from the move that led to the goal, when he blocked well from an effort by Yuya Osako, but was sent the wrong way from the spot by Kagawa, and he has to be quickly off his line here because there was a very under-hit back pass from Quintero, which he reacted to in the end, and Colombia have managed to make something of it because Mahika has swung it in towards Cuadrado, arriving late in the day, and it got a final touch of a Japanese player, and it will be a corner to Colombia.
Well, it was Nagamoto. He tracked Cuadrado all the way, and as the ball came in from the left-hand side, Cuadrado was at full stretch on the penalty spot, trying to get a touch on it, but as I just said, Nagamoto was right across early and defended it really well.
So, corner for Colombia. What can they make from this? It's going to be delivered by Juan Quintero. It's an outswinger towards the 6-yard box, and well, it wasn't the most convincing defending as Oscar Morello tried to make something of it. Quintero has it back on the left-hand side. Intelligent pass to the edge of the area, and Jefferson Lerma, who sends it wide for Cuadrado to hit, but straight into a trio of blue shirts, and it rebounds back out to halfway inside the Japan half. Cuadrado tries to take on his man, but Yuya Sako has won it back for the Japanese, and they've won a free kick as well, just to put the brakes on a bit of a head of steam from Colombia.
You're right, head of steam. Just thinking that Colombia are definitely not out of this game. That every time they do go forward, they're causing Japan problems. Japan look a little bit nervy at the back, sometimes swinging and missing when they're trying to clear the ball, and despite having a man extra and being a goal up, whenever Colombia do attack, they look dangerous.
Shibasaki for Japan, who have certainly changed their approach now. Very measured, very deliberate in their passing. They're slowing it down to walking pace at times, whereas they were still very quick tempo-wise in the aftermath of that red card for Carlos Sanchez inside of the first 3 minutes. Decent ball in towards the 6-yard box and gathered by David Ospina.
Well, it's actually Colombia that's changed. For the first 5 minutes after the red card, Colombia pressed Japan all over the field. They really did try to make something happen early on. They played a high line and they pressed, and the game was end to end because of it. But whether they tired or just figured that this new style would suit them better, playing on the counter attack, they've just dropped off when Japan are in possession, and Japan are having a lot of the ball.
That's the voice of Leon Osman, the first of 3 World Cup commentaries for you on 5 Live today. We have Poland against Senegal, also in Group H for you at 4 o'clock, and Russia, the hosts, up against Egypt from 7 o'clock, as well as plenty of other live sport for you. Andy Murray back in action at Queen's this afternoon. England against Australia in the 3rd ODI. They can wrap up the series with victory, and Royal Ascot's the first day there too. We'll be around all of those events for you on 5 Live Sport. We're with you until 9:30 this evening, as Yohan Mojica goes down in a crumpled heap after a challenge by Genki Haraguchi. In fact, he made the challenge, and Haraguchi was going down but landed on Mojica as he was going to ground. That looked like a painful one, actually, just caught him on the ankle.
It did, but it was also a potential yellow card for Mojica. The way he lunged in, he was at full stretch. He probably wasn't off the ground, but you certainly couldn't say he was in control. And sometimes if you then say that you're injured as well, you may sometimes get away with those yellow cards.
Tricks of the trade there from Leon Osman. Did you ever utilise any of those yourself then to avoid a caution?
I've no idea what you're talking about.
On halfway then for Japan with Yoshida, who flights it forwards, but that's meat and drink for Murillo at the back for Colombia, and he just nods it out, safety first, for a throw to Japan, roundabout level with the Colombian penalty area. It's going to be taken by Hiroki Sakai, who knocks it in short to Yuya Osako. His delivery back is poor though. Yuya Osako, the forward for Japan today. No Shinji Okazaki, and there's going to be a change from the looks of it by Jose Peckerman already, who's not been enjoying what he's been seeing in the aftermath of the sending off, and it's Wilmar Barrios who's the man who's going to come on for him, the Boca Juniors player who's reportedly been offered a much improved contract to try and convince him to delay a proposed move to Spurs until January. He's a man in demand, and he's a man who's about to come on with half an hour played in Saransk, and Colombia trailing by a 0-0 to Japan. Japan in possession with Shibasaki halfway inside the Colombian half. Yoshida now on the halfway line as Japan push and probe, but they're dispossessed as Inui was a bit loose with the ball at his feet, and Cuadrado up towards Falcao, had Izquierdo in support, goes to the left, and Mojica instead, the left back who's got forwards well but is unable to beat Haraguchi, level with the Japanese penalty area, and will have to settle for a throw.
Yeah, it's sharp from Colombia. They are now playing on the counter-attack. They're allowing Japan to come probably into the final third, just on the halfway between the penalty area and the halfway line, and then they start snapping at their feet when the ball goes forward. And when you've got Cuadrado on one side and you've got Izquierdo on the other side, the pace that they've both got, you've always got a chance if they've got space to run into.
Well, that substitution is imminent. We can just see Barrios trotting towards the halfway line and going through his warm-up routines. He is a defensive midfielder, so I wonder if Quintero may be sacrificed here because he's trying to play that role and it's not his natural game. One thing's for sure, Barrios is certainly coming on, and it's Juan Cuadrado who's being withdrawn.
Well, that's a surprise, to be honest. As you said, Quintero is a fantastic player. You can see that in his technique, but you know, the pace of Cuadrado and the pace of Izquierdo down those wide areas is a real threat, and it's made Japan a little bit nervous. You can see that they're trying to double up at times to stop them playing, and you know, Falcao will probably one of those upset the fact that the pace has gone from their team, and you know, he'll now be more isolated as this game goes on.
So Wilmar Barrios is on for Colombia. As I mentioned, Tottenham Hotspur said to be looking to recruit him to join his fellow Colombian Davinson Sanchez for next season. Given away, and chance for Japan to make it too, which they've failed to take advantage of. And again, it was slack play at the back from the Colombians. Yuya Osako threw on goal, angle was tight, wriggled past Davinson Sanchez and then completely sliced his effort from 6 yards out, and it went out for a throw-in.
You're right, it was all their own doing, Colombia. Barrios, who's just come on, just misplacing a pass and allowing him to just get in on goal, and he's got to do better. His shot, he's tried to hit it with his laces rather than open his foot up and curl it into that far corner with his right foot, and he completely fluffed his lines.
32 minutes played in Saransk. Colombia 0, Japan 1. Shinji Kagawa's penalty the difference. Here is Nagatomo on the left and flights in the cross from the byline for Japan, but it drifts behind for a goal kick.
No, I think it's a corner, and he's done fantastically well again as Yamamoto. But what that does is, you know, when you take your right winger off, who's caused the left back problems, you take Cuadrado off, suddenly we're now seeing Nagamoto in an attacking sense. He's finding himself free all the way out there in that left wing spot, and he has license to go because his team have an extra man.
Well, he's one to watch, is Wilmar Barrios, but he is a defensive midfielder by trade, and they've taken off a winger, as Leon was saying, so you wonder how that's going to affect the shape. In comes the corner for Japan, cleared away at the near post by Oscar Murillo, and Japan have it back just inside the Colombian half, back to the full-back Yuto Nagatomo, who is going to be mightily relieved, the left-back, to see Cuadrado withdrawn because he was giving him some headaches. Here is Jefferson Lerma, who's deep inside his own half. Poke forwards now towards Barrios, his first real interaction of the game, and they have it on halfway now with Mojica getting forwards well. Both sets of fullbacks really bursting up their respective wings, and it's interesting because essentially they're both playing with four at the back. It's not a three-man central defence, as it's floated forwards towards Falcao, and again, just like earlier, he gets a touch on the ball, not the touch that he was looking for, and it's gathered by Kawashima.
No, but it's a great pass by Quintero, and that's obviously why he's kept him on. He's drifting inside. He's not playing like Cuadrado would on that right-hand side. He's coming in off the right into a number 10 position, and he got turned and he just dinked one over the top for Falcao to try and get on the end of. Again, just like the free kick earlier, he managed at full stretch to get a toe on it, but couldn't get enough to divert it into the Japanese goal. But that's what he'll be asking of Quintero now, drifting into these positions as a number 10 and trying to get close to Falcao in that way.
Colombia have it on the halfway line with Lerma, who's been tugged back, and you could hear the whistle from Damir Skamina go against Makoto Hasabi, the Japanese skipper. Japan leading by 1-0 with just a touch over 10 minutes of the first half to play. Colombia down to 10 men inside of 3 minutes, with Carlos Sanchez dismissed for the handball that led to the penalty, which was converted by Shinji Kagawa to separate the sides. Oscar Murillo just inside the Colombian half at the moment, now on the burst, knocks it to Mojica, who spins it on to Jose Izquierdo, who was very lively early on, but has been starved of possession for the last 20 minutes or so.
Yeah, I mean, most of the counter-attacks went down that right-hand side through Cuadrado, and you know, considering people didn't even expect Izquierdo to play, that was a surprise that the guy who was heavily involved, who was lively, Cuadrado, was the guy sacrificed instead of Izquierdo. So you know, there's going to be a lot asked of Izquierdo as this game goes on, and whether he can stand up and deliver for his country.
So Colombia in possession in the part of the pitch that's bathed in sunshine, just a third of it in a strip from one end to the other. On the right-hand side, as Colombia would look at it, they're into the shadows now, and there'll be some shadows cast on them if they were to lose this game. Falcao has made a meal of a challenge from Maya Yoshida, where he went over the Southampton defender's leg, but then rolled around about 7 or 8 times to convince the referee that he had to award the free kick.
Yeah, it's not only that, you know, when you're a team with a man less, what you find sometimes is the antics become more. You're asking the referee questions of, is that a yellow card, is that even more? And it was a foul, nothing more by Yoshida, but the way Falcao rolled around, you'd think there was more in it than that.
It's the voice of Leon Osman on co-commentary duties here as Quintero tosses the free kick into the area. Wasn't a bad delivery, just beyond the penalty spot region, and a cluster of blue shirts went up, and one of them got their head on it, and it's out for a throw to Colombia, about level with the Japan penalty spot. Throw is going to be taken by Santiago Arias, just waiting for some options to be made available. In towards Falcao, who manages to wriggle away from a couple of challenges, then goes down very pleadingly looking at the referee. He was inside the penalty area, about 10 yards out, and a slice clearance from Nagatomo almost gives Falcao possession on the edge of the area, and he's been knocked over by the challenger of Makoto Hasabi, and this is a free kick in a promising position for Colombia, although Japan are far from happy. Falcao was playing for it. Hasabi was just trying to use his strength, and Falcao once again with a dramatic tumble, and the referee has given the free kick.
He has played for it, and moments before it he played for a penalty in the penalty area, and he didn't get that, and the referee was right not to award it, and a moment later the ball goes into the air and he's after a free kick, and in my opinion that wasn't a free kick, but as I said, the referee's just allowing the Colombians to their antics to be rewarded, which is a little bit disappointing at the moment, because the Japanese have played well so far.
Free kick then, which is going to be taken by Juan Quintero. He's over the ball, it's right of centre, probably about 20 yards out from goal. Japanese wall is going to be about 5 men deep.
It's a great position. They need to make the most of this now. Quintero's got to ask questions of that Japanese goalkeeper.
So Quintero is winding up for it. He's the only man in a position to make the strike as the Japanese wall is infiltrated by Davinson Sanchez. We see that so often now, a member of the opposition trying to get in there and in the middle of it. So Quintero to strike, edge of the area, goes for the low one, it's in! Oh, what a clever goal that is! Did it cross the line? It looked like it from here. And the referee has given the goal, and Colombia are back level. It took a while for it to be confirmed, but Juan Quintero, the maverick who's in the side in place of James Rodriguez, very, very clever, went low, the wall jumped, the keeper was caught out and couldn't get back to shovel it out before it crossed the line. 1-1.
Oh, it's fantastic bit of invention. It's one of those ones where the wall is going to jump, and Quintero just knows it, and for all the world he looks like he's going to go over the wall, and as the wall jumps he just places it right underneath the wall. The keeper's at full stretch, can't keep it out, and when you're asking for someone to step up and be a hero for your country, down to 10 men, you're in search of a goal. Quintero's been that man. 1-1.
Yeah, they're showing the goal line technology on the monitors, but you could see with the naked eye when they showed the first replay that Kawashima had been unable to bundle it out before it crossed the line. Clever piece of play from the man that our South American expert Tim Vickery called the most naturally talented player in South American club football earlier this year. Tipped for big things, and he's failed to live up to it, but on the big stage he's delivered a real moment of magic. It's not a spectacular free kick, but it is a very, very sharp and clever strike under the wall, who all jumped, the keeper caught napping, and it wriggled in at the near post.
Well, it's a clever free kick. It's just clever thinking and speed of thought, knowing that the wall is going to jump. You've probably done your homework beforehand, you know that's going to happen, and can you get your timing right and get it in that bottom corner? And he did all of the above, and I think they've done well, Colombia. They've responded well to being a goal down, but I do think the referees played a part in getting them that goal. I thought it was a really soft free kick that he gave them.
Yeah, Falcao winning the free kick in questionable circumstances, and Quintero doing the business when he took it. So 1-1 in Saransk. The first half has absolutely flown by. 5 minutes left of it. Japan on the attack. They'll feel hard done by. Shibasaki looking to exchange passes with Haraguchi, but nothing doing. Floated forwards towards Falcao, who again goes to ground very easily after a challenge from Maya Yoshida on the halfway line. Looking across to the assistant referee on the near side as it's spun out wide by Shinji Kagawa. Too much on it, and Japan are flustered after conceding that equaliser.
They are, but every time the ball goes near Falcao at the minute, he's finding himself on the floor, and you know, the referee needs to have a word with him and tell him, you know, play the game fairly, be honest, because at the moment, every 2 minutes he's finding himself on the floor, and if I was a Japanese player, I'd be getting very frustrated with what's happening.
Nagatomo has been impeded, and will have a free kick for Japan, just a touch inside Colombian territory. It was all going so well for Japan, a goal up and a man up early on, but they wasted a couple of very inviting opportunities and have paid the price for that now, with Colombia striking back. 1-1 in Saransk.
They did, but Japan have allowed this to happen. They're a man up at the World Cup, a goal up, and they've just not been positive enough with their play. They've gone sideways too often. They've allowed the Colombians to get back into position and been counter-attacked on easy, and you know, they need to take advantage of this extra man.
Hiroki Sakai with an overhit pass. There was no real pressure on him. He went for a slide rule ball down the right flank, and there was too much pace on it. As the replays are just showing the free kick once again. He knew exactly what he was doing, did Quintero, when he struck the free kick that levelled the scores. The wall all jumped. The keeper will be furious with himself for being caught out there as well, and the ball was well and truly over the line while he was protesting.
Yeah, but you sometimes blame the keeper in them situations, but you put your wall there and say that they're going to cover that side of the goal. You need to do the other side, and you know, if it goes over the top and it goes right in the corner, you take your hat off to it, and that's gone right in the corner. The keeper's done really well to get anything on it to keep it out, because his wall should have done a better job.
The Colombian fans right up for this now, because just before that free kick, Radamel Falcao actually walked over to the Japanese goal end and started to try and gee up the Colombian supporters to get them behind them. Well, after that and the goal, they are in fine voice now, and the stadium is littered with more yellow than blue, which is no real surprise given how the Colombian invasion had been taking place in Moscow. As we were hearing from Kelly earlier on, they have been arriving in their droves, and they've seen their side battle back to 1-1 with just 2 minutes left of the first half. Remember, they had Carlos Sanchez sent off less than 3 minutes in. They're looking to build on that as well. Falcao once again looking for a foul, told to get up by Shinji Kagawa. The referee playing advantage, and it's pinged out to the left flank, and Jose Izquierdo, the Brighton and Hove Albion man, closed down by a couple of Japanese players, so has to go left to Mahika. About 30 yards from goal, opts to go backwards again. Japan with good shape, getting players back behind the ball. Mahika will look to go once again on the left-hand side. Only Falcao further forwards than him, so he goes on the dart and is held up well by the challenge by Genki Haraguchi, who nudges it out for a throw with a minute to play in the first half.
I think you have to be impressed with the Colombians, the way they responded to going a goal down so early and a man down. It took them a while to sort of find their place in this game, but at the moment they're playing really well. They're allowing Japan to come onto them. They're counter-attacking with pace, and they actually look more dangerous to score the second goal.
Falcao trying to wriggle through a cluster of Japanese challenges on the left wing, and bangs his hand on the turf in frustration when he can't find a way through and can't also win the throw. So Hiroki Sakai, the right back for Japan, will take it as we wait to see how much additional time there will be at the end of a riveting first half. Japan will be kicking themselves that they won't be going in with an advantage as things stand. Well, they'll have a numerical advantage because Carlos Sanchez was dismissed early on, and despite the best efforts of the Colombians to convince Damir Scamina to level things up by brandishing a red in the other direction, he has not done so. Quick look at the watch from the Slovenian official as Colombia take the throw just inside their own half with Johan Mahika. Say Johan, it is a J at the start of his name, which would normally be a H, but he was given that name in honour of Johan Cruyff, so I'm guessing that's how he'd want it pronounced. A minute of additional time has been signalled by the fourth official, which we are into now. I think Colombia would quite happily settle for that scoreline at the interval. They're still probing as throw forwards is knocked out of play by Genki Haraguchi. Just 30 seconds now of that additional minute left to play. A throw for Mahika, who's advanced a good few yards further forwards than where the throw should have been taken, made his way towards the penalty area of Japan, and picked up now by Mahika. Falcao dropping deep, and halfway inside the Japanese half now is Barrios, the substitute who came on for Juan Cuadrado in a surprising swap. The winger sacrificed for a defensive midfielder in the absence of the dismissed Carlos Sanchez. Quick look at the watch from Damir Scamina, and the blow of the whistle, and it will be all square at the interval. And after Shinji Kagawa's penalty, which came about after Carlos Sanchez handled in the area and was dismissed, gave Japan the perfect start. Colombia rallied and got back on terms with a very clever free kick from Juan Quintero as the half came towards an end. What a first half it has been, Leon Osman.
It has, you know, a fantastic start. There's obviously a sending off, a goal, end-to-end football. The Colombians figured out eventually how to go about the rest of this game and dragged themselves back in, and, you know, if anything looked the more dangerous. I think Japan will be disappointed having such an early advantage. They haven't took advantage of that. They haven't stretched Colombia enough, especially after the 20-25 minute mark. They allowed Colombia to defend narrowly and hit them on the counter-attack, and, you know, they'll be, despite the advantage numerically at half-time, I actually think the Colombians will be pleased with how that first half ended up going.
So the half-time score in Saransk in this Group H opener is Colombia 1, Japan 1. Thanks very much, Kelly. Perfect timing. The two sets of players out on the pitch and about ready to recommence battle. Juan Quintero with the equalising goal, the low free kick under the Japanese wall. He's the first Colombian to score in two different World Cup finals. As Colombia get us off and underway, the 10 men of Colombia, remember, after Carlos Sanchez was dismissed inside of 3 minutes, but they have rallied well. And Leon Osman, given the way they finished the half, will it just be a case of more of the same?
Yes, I would expect so. They figured out how to take advantage of this Japanese team, to let them come onto them defensively and play on the counter-attack. And for the last 10 minutes of that first half, it served them well, culminated in the goal that they got.
So Japan with a throw just over the halfway line, which is now worked all the way back to Gen Shoji. Quite a lot of supporters still picking up their half-time refreshments, because the far stand was a sea of yellow, but you can see all of the red seats in the Moldova arena, as a good bit of fullback play from Santiago Arias just nudges his opposing fullback Yuto Nagatomo off the ball, and it's a throw deep in Colombian territory for Colombia. Arias with the throw up towards Radamel Falcao, who shows good strength and knocks it back to Arias. Pretty aimless pass from him, though. Makoto Hasabi's underneath it for Japan. They now have it on the left wing with Takashi Inui. Kagawa backwards of square to Nagatomo, and forced back to the halfway line, where Gen Shoji sends it square to Yoshida. He makes up a few yards and thought about tossing the ball into the penalty area, tries to work a slide rule pass instead, but it comes to nothing, and Oscar Moria is able to square it to Yoam Mahika for Colombia. He launches it forwards, and it's going to be an easy gather for Kawashima in the Japan goal.
I think the Japanese manager Nishino would have been really pleased to get his team in at half-time. They started the game well. They obviously got the advantage in the goal, and they just seemed to lose their way in that first half. Weren't quite sure how to go about playing against 10 men. I don't think they would have practiced that in their build-up. And you don't realise how that can affect a team, even though you've got an extra man sometimes. So he will be able to get them in, give them clear direction of where to attack, where to take advantage of this Colombian team, and he'll be expecting his team to raise their game in this second half.
Picked up just inside Japan territory by Takashi Inui, who was crunched into and has stayed on the deck after Santiago Arias went in through the back of him. Arias, who's been linked with a number of Premier League clubs during his 5 seasons at PSV, but recent reports suggest he's close to agreeing a deal with Juventus. So many players that are in the shop window during the tournament. Haraguchi has knocked it wide to Inui on the attack for Japan, just outside the area. Squares for Nagatomo. Early cross from him's not bad, and cleared away by Moria. Picked up again on the left by Nagatomo, the left fullback who has played as much of the game up towards the Colombian penalty area as he's been down towards his own 18-yard box. Izquierdo back defending at the moment and has fouled his man, so it's going to be a free kick after the challenge by Izquierdo on Haraguchi.
It was great initial play by the Japanese there. They went from the right-hand side and Sakai over to Hasibi into Inui, and Nagamoto charging up from left-back round the outside, really stretched the Colombian defence. The cross came into the penalty area and they didn't have enough men in there on this occasion, but you're seeing if they can just stretch the ball from one side of the pitch to the other, really open up this Colombian midfield, that they can get in on the wings this afternoon.
Hasibi, the Japan skipper, with a sharp burst forwards and then a short pass into Nagatomo, who knocks it into the feet of Inui, centre field at the moment. Hasibi waiting for an option, delays the pass, pings it to the left side where Osako, the forward, has come out. And Osako's still going now, but with him coming to the left, there's nobody in the middle. He's done very well though, because his flighted delivery into the box is met by Barrios and sent behind for a corner.
Again, attacking in the wide areas. First half, they tried to do everything down the middle of the field through Kagawa, who's the guy you want to use, but they made it easier for Colombia to defend against them. Twice already they've used the wings, got down into the wide areas of Colombia and been a threat on both occasions. A corner on this time.
In it goes from Shibasaki, and it's not been dealt with. Yoshida was in there, unable to make anything of it in the end, and now Colombia had a chance to hit on the counter-attack, which they've been unable to do so with, as Izquierdo just lost his way, and Nagatomo guides it all the way back to Kawashima, who'll still be furious with the manner of that leveller for Colombia, although it was a very clever free kick from Juan Quintero. You could sense the frustration in the way he remonstrated with the referee that it hadn't crossed the line when it clearly had done, and obviously there is the technology to prove it as well. Colombia, remember, down to 10 men as early as the 3rd minute, which is when they were also a goal down after Kagawa's penalty, but they rallied and levelled through Quintero's fine free kick, and it remains 1-1 with 5.5 minutes played in the second half on BBC Radio 5 Live, the first of 3 World Cup commentaries for you. The other game in Group H today, Poland against Senegal at 4 o'clock, and Russia, the hosts, looking to build on their opening victory when they face Egypt, perhaps with Mohamed Salah in the starting lineup. That one gets underway at 7 o'clock, and it's not just football for you. Andy Murray's return at Queen's after a year out. He's going to be on at around 4 o'clock against Nick Kyrgios. We'll have updates from Trent Bridge, where England are aiming to wrap up the ODI series against Australia, and it's the first day of Royal Ascot as well. 5 Live Sport with you all the way through until 9:30 this evening. Mejica has it on the left side for Colombia, tried to play the pass into Falcao, crowded out by about 2 or 3 blue shirts. Falcao's won it back though. Mejica down the line now, looking for Izquierdo. Izquierdo cutting inside and trying to play back to Falcao just outside the area, but he was sloppy in possession, and it's bounced all the way through to Kawashima, who was closed down quickly, launches it long. Japan asking for a free kick after Takashi Inui was the meat in a Colombian sandwich, and the referee has deemed that he was impeded, and it will be a Japanese free kick just inside their own half.
Yeah, the Japanese are just taking control of this game. They're probing, they're going from side to side when in possession, and when out of possession, whether the manager told them at half-time, they're really swarming the Colombian opposition to get the ball back, deny them space, deny them time to start attacks of their own, and they keep winning the ball back. And at the moment, they're hoping to drain the Colombians by making them work as hard as they have to.
Shoji flights it forwards, and it nearly bounced into the path of Shinji Kagawa after the knockdown from Yuya Osako. It's not been as explosive a start to the second half as the first period, but it's been intriguing because, as Leon Osman mentioned, Japan perhaps playing a bit more of a tactical game now to exploit their man advantage, which they didn't really do in the first period. on the halfway line now with Inui. That's loose though. Davinson Sanchez with the interception. Man who was arguably at fault for that opening goal for Japan after he was left in a real muddle by Yuya Osako, and that eventually led to the handball by Sanchez, which led to Japan being awarded the penalty. Shibasaki sending it wide to Nagatomo, halfway inside Colombian territory. Back in field now to Shibasaki again, who's got time to pick the pass, plays it square to Hasabi. Deliberate and patient stuff from Japan at the moment, moving it from side to side. Kagawa into the area, and Osako's hit is blocked by David Ospina. Yuya Osako, angle against him, about 6 yards out, fizzed it goalwards. It was saved by Ospina, a save you'd always expect him to make though.
It was, but after great play again from Japan, just moving the ball a touch quicker than they had done in all of the first half. Kagawa pulls off into a pocket of space, plays it into Osaka, who rolls Davinson Sanchez. It was shocking defending from Davinson Sanchez, allowing him to turn, but he just didn't look like he was going to score, and they end up with a corner.
Which is whipped in now. Ospina's come a long way and makes a very competent gatherer. As I mentioned earlier on, he's been in the spotlight for a series of high-profile errors for Colombia in the last 8 months or so. Reported to be looking to leave Arsenal, with the speculation that Bernd Leno is on his way to the Emirates, the German goalkeeper. Already second fiddle to Petr Cech, but so far he's not really put a foot wrong, David Ospina, today. Headed away by Shoji towards halfway, back down by Arias, and down in the left-back area, Nagatomo clears for Japan. Arias sending it forwards again. The ball spending a lot of time in the air at the moment. Falcao brings it down 30 yards out from goal, but can't get it away from Hasabi, who has it for Japan. Square to Kagawa, still inside the Japanese half at the moment. He's in the centre circle now and spins it out wide to Hiroki Sakai. Sakai backwards of square and now in the centre with the skipper Hasabi again. And once more Japan choosing their moment rather than flooding forwards as they were prone to doing in the first period. Colombia win it back up to Falcao, but his touch lets him down, and Japan have it once again with their goalkeeper Kawashima.
You're right, the probing, and it's mostly down this side as Quintero keeps on drifting in to try and get close to Falcao. It's Nagamoto that just keeps releasing himself in an advanced position, and him and Inui are just getting 2v1 on this right hand side against Arias and making it very difficult for him, and I can see that's where they continue to get joy.
No joy with the pass to the centre, which was cut out by Muria and launched towards the centre circle. Nagatomo underneath it for Japan, and he's scooped it forwards for the run here of Takashi Inui on the left wing. Closed down quickly and perhaps fouled as well by Johan Mojica. Nothing to him from the referee, and Mojica brings it away. It was a robust challenge to say the least, and he knocks it infield now to Jefferson Lerma. Square to the figure of Mojica, who's coming forwards once again, and now it's Colombia who just slow down the tempo deep inside their own half. Up towards Falcao, back to goal and looking for the foul. Shibasaki made the challenge, and it was deemed firm but fair by Demir Scamina, the referee. And now it's up to Osako, just outside the area, square to Inui. Great chance this, just inside the box, goes for the curler, and it's fisted away by David Ospina. Didn't really have too much pace on the effort. It was placed well enough, but Ospina able to just get across and parry it away.
Well, that was it. It just lacked the power on the shot. Japan opened up Colombia brilliantly there, getting Kagawa on the ball again, releasing Inui just down this left-hand side, and you thought he should take it onto his left foot. He had loads of space just to take a touch into the box and hit it with his left foot, but he didn't fancy it. Always wanted to bring it back onto his right-hand side, and as he released his shot to the far post, it just didn't have enough power, and Ospina saved it quite easily in the end.
12 minutes played in the second half. Still 1-1 between Japan and Colombia. Colombia down to 10 men after sending off of Carlos Sanchez after just 3 minutes of the game, and well, he's been asking for a number of fouls to go Colombia's way, but Wilmar Barrios has now been penalised himself for lunging in on Hiroko Sakai, and it's Japan who have a free kick in a decent area out wide on the right-hand side, just shy of the penalty area.
It's a very similar position to where the Colombian goal was scored by Quintero in the first half. It's just probably on line with the edge of the penalty area, about 5 or 6, 7 yards outside, and the Japanese went with a 4-man wall. The Colombians are only going with a 2-man wall. So you can see the difference in set piece taker and how they feel his delivery will go.
Well, James Rodriguez is being readied for Colombia. The fact he didn't start led many to believe that he wouldn't be able to feature at all today. You wonder how fit he is. He was struggling with a calf injury he picked up in training, and the obvious alteration is going to be Juan Quintero, the man who was a backup for James Rodriguez and started in place of him today and scored the equalising goal in fine style by fooling the Japanese wall and their goalkeeper. But James Rodriguez, the superstar for Colombia, the man who won the Golden Boot at the last World Cup with 6 goals, is on, and that's going to be a real shot in the arm for Colombia and their supporters to see him on the field.
Yeah, what a surprise this is. Peckerman's kept this secret well up his sleeve, just like is he taking the free kick? Well, I mean, just to first of all not have him start and then have him come on when everyone presumed he must be injured, as he's done well to keep his cards that close to his chest.
Rodriguez's first piece of action is going to be to help defend this free kick, which was in towards Maya Yoshida, who got up very, very well but planted his header wide. He does have a good scoring record for Japan. He got 4 goals across their qualifying campaign and actually does better for his nation than he does for Southampton. Got up well enough there but couldn't get the angle on his header.
Well, he looks a threat. What a leap it was. It was just hung up to the back post, probably on line with the back post, about 8 or 10 yards out, and he just rose above Davinson Sanchez as if he was jumping on his back. He just couldn't quite get over it to keep the header down, and it just drifted probably about a yard over the crossbar, but a real threat in that area there.
Seen too much of the aerial threat for Japan so far today, neither really for Colombia. No aerial threat here because it's through for Santiago Arias to chase on the deck, but the fullback couldn't make any inroads. He's remained up there and helped to nudge it on for Falcao to chase. Yuto Nagatomo goes safety first and just absolutely belts it out of play for a throw to Colombia. And after a somewhat slow start, things starting to heat up now. James Rodriguez's first piece of action is to fall onto his backside, but he's retained possession in the right wing area, and they have it back now, do Colombia, with Wilmar Barrios flighted towards Arias to chase by James Rodriguez, and Japan wrestle it back and come surging forwards through the centre with Shibasaki. Just signs, Leon Osman, that the game is perhaps starting to open up after a cagey start to the second half, and flighted forwards for the hit across goal which came in from Yuya Osako. Had a couple of opportunities now. The angle was against him. It was a very intelligent pass though from Shibasaki to pick him out on the far side, and in fact it was Hiroki Sakai, I beg your pardon, who got forwards, and it was the finish of a full-back rather than centre forwards.
It was a great position just inside the penalty area on that right-hand side. He took it down fantastically well, and he's just got caught in between having a shot and having a cross, and in the end he's done neither, but a great position for his team. But you're right, the game has just started to open up. Chances starting to be made, certainly by the Japanese, and Colombians are starting to look more dangerous with bringing James on. It's already kept Nagamoto back into his left back position, and maybe that will benefit the Colombians.
Jose Peckerman is decked out in an all-blue suit, but then it's polished off by a pair of sneakers. It's an interesting look, and it's some interesting decisions that he's made with his selection today. How fit is James Rodriguez? Surely if he was fully fit he would have started, and if he's not fully fit, how much of a risk is it bringing him on for the final half an hour of a game that is starting to be played at a fair lick once again? Shibasaki for Japan, about 15 yards inside Colombian territory, and Yoshida now scampers backwards towards the edge of the centre circle, sprays it to the left side, and Nagatomo again pushing and probing, and a forensic examination of Colombian defensive work by the Japanese. Has to be over the top, and I've seen a few of those now. They've tried to play the diagonals to try and create some movement behind the Colombian backline.
They have, but talking James Rodriguez, we were discussing the other day that when we're talking about Mo Salah for the Egyptians, how if you've got him, you've surely got to be using him at some point. And I think it's obvious that the manager didn't think he was fit enough for a whole game, but what a substitution he is to bring on to really inspire your team to go on and maybe even with 10 men go and create that winning goal.
clearances smashed away by Maya Yoshida for Japan as Falcao was closing him down. It's picked up very easily by Davinson Sanchez under no pressure, square to his centre-back partner Oscar Maria. And now James Rodriguez in possession once again over the halfway line into the feet of Santiago Arias. Closed down by 2 or 3 Japanese players, so he's forced backwards, and it's Wilmar Barrios now, the other substitute that Colombia have used so far. Japan yet to make any changes, and you wonder if Akira Ishino will be considering shuffling his pack. You wonder if maybe Shinji Okazaki might come on, because with him not starting you assume that he's not fit, but maybe he's preparing a late cameo for the Leicester City man, just as we've seen with James Rodriguez here.
Well, yeah, you're right, he was the same as Rodriguez. There was talk of calf issues in the build-up. We presume because they're not starting the game that they're both injured, but yes, we've already seen James Rodriguez come onto the field. Maybe we'll see the same from Japan and Shinji Okazaki.
Well, there's a break in play here, a yellow card for Wilmar Barrios for a challenge. It gives us a chance to get an update from the cricket. Let's go to Eleanor Aldroyd at Trent Bridge.
And England, having been put into bat here by Australia, have made a cracking start, 38 without loss after 5 overs. Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow both on 19, scoring pretty much similar rate. We had 3 fours in a row from Johnny Bairstow in the first 6 of the innings from Jason Roy. England going well, 38 without loss of 5, and you can listen to commentary over on 5 Live Sports Extra.
Thanks very much indeed, Ellie. A big day of sport for you on 5 Live Sport. Cricket with Ellie, and on TMS as mentioned, Royal Ascot and Queen's as well, and this the first of 3 World Cup commentaries for you on 5 Live as it's brought forwards by Everson Lerma, but he can't get his angles right, and Japan have it back once again with Kagawa, who's threaded it through to the figure of Haraguchi about 5 yards outside the penalty area, but he runs into traffic, and Colombia are able to clear their line. Davinson Sanchez goes down, but no foul. Hasabi picks it up now for Japan. This game is very much there for the taking for either of these sides, and that is some effort from Colombia when you consider that they've been down to 10 men from the 3rd minute onwards, and at times, Leon, you've forgotten that, haven't you, that they're down to 10?
You really have. The Japanese have been probing, certainly in the second half, trying to create the opportunity, but haven't created enough considering their extra man advantage.
Inui wriggling his way into the area and fizzing an effort at goal. It was straight down the throat of Davinson Sanchez, though, who got down to stoop the headed clearance away and block the route to goal. Sakai now for Japan, short to Haraguchi, still just outside the Colombian penalty area for Japan, into the feet of Shibasaki, who plays a clever pass for Haraguchi. He's got 2 men in the area, he's at the byline now on the right side, can't get the cross in, but it will be a corner for Japan.
That just seems to sum Japan up. I think at the moment they have great little play, interchanging of positions, find themselves in pockets, technically very, very good, but just lacking a cutting edge, lacking a bit of belief as much as anything in around that penalty area to get the shot away, to be clinical. They're very nice, and as they get in there, they don't seem to have that nastiness to put the ball in the back of the goal.
Chance for them perhaps here. We saw Maya Yoshida get up ever so well from a dead ball situation not that long ago. He is in there, one of 5 or 6 Japanese players looking to get on the end of this corner. It's an outswinger towards the penalty spot area, but it's a weak one, and it's easily cleared away by Everson Lerma. Japan do have it back out wide, whipped in well by Shibasaki, should be cleared easily enough by the fullback Mojica, and he goes backwards to Davinson Sanchez just inside the Colombian penalty area, waited for a while before trying to pick out a pass, and it was an awful one as well, straight back to Japan.
He's played well today, Mojica, on that left-hand side. He's been on his own a few times as he's cured those come in. He's been up and down, he's defended well. He was in the right-back area defending on that occasion, but he's played really well for Colombia today, in possession of the ball especially.
Here is Shinji Kagawa, whose goal after just 4 minutes put Japan in a very strong position with their man advantage as well, but they've been unable to make the most of it. Been better in this second half after they fell to a sucker punch from Colombia towards the end of the first half, when Juan Quintero's free kick went under the wall and just squirmed past Kawashima, the Japan goalkeeper.
that was it again from Japan there. Really nice play, interchanging positions. They actually remind me a little bit of Arsenal, the way they play. They get in pockets, they're very nice, they play the ball across, they're very good in possession, albeit against 10 men. But they're just lacking a little bit of cutting edge around that penalty area at the moment.
Midway through the second half, still 1-1. Lovely ball from Inui to the fullback Nagatomo, and Ospina got himself in a bit of a muddle as he came out to try and smother. Problem with the communication there, Japan unable to profit from it, but nice interplay there on the left with Takashi Inui.
Got himself in all sorts of issues there, Ospina. He came out when he didn't need to. His defender had it all sorted, and as his defender took the ball away from possession, Ospina was there and just seemed to tackle fresh air, and it was lucky that I think it was Arias in that position was able to deal with the situation.
Looks like we might be getting a first Japanese change of the game, and indeed we are going to see one of their legends come out in Kazuki Honda. He clashed with the former coach Vahid Halilhodžić over their playing style. He said he didn't have any regrets about the fact that he was removed in April. Halilhodžić, already Japan's leading World Cup scorer with 3 goals. He is going to come on for the man who scored the opening goal, Shinji Kagawa. So it won't be too much of a different shape, with Honda playing that similar role, dropping just off the front man and in front of the screening pair of players Shibasaki and Hasibi, but an injection of fresh legs and an injection of plenty of experience in Kazuki Honda as well. Jose Izquierdo, meanwhile, is going to come off in the final change of the piece for Colombia. Carlos Bacca, who's never really convinced for Colombia, the vast majority of his international goals coming in friendlies against lesser opponents. He's on loan at Villarreal at the moment after an unhappy time at AC Milan. He comes on for the Brighton and Hove Albion winger. So Colombia all out of their changes now. Japan still have 2 left up their sleeve, and Asako on the left-hand side is dispossessed by Barrios, who's on the charge now, the Boca Juniors man, wanted by Tottenham Hotspur if you believe what you read. And the immediate impact of Carlos Bacca is that he has run the ball out of play for a throw to Japan in their left-back area.
I'm a little bit surprised taking Kagawa off. Honda is a fantastic player, great record. He's got an incredible amount of caps and goals, but I felt Kagawa was getting in some great little pockets, great little areas, and was the guy that seemed to be causing the Colombian team the most problems with the positions he was taking up. So surprised to see him come off.
Japan on the attack on the right side as they look at things. Backwards of square to Kazuki Honda. First interaction for him. He goes for goal from distance, and well, there wasn't too much power on the effort. It's an easy save for David Ospina going down towards his left-hand side, and it may well have been drifting wide anyway, but looking to make inroads as soon as he came on, Kazuki Honda.
Definitely. One thought in his mind, he got the ball, he got turned, which is what you'd always want to see from a guy in like a number 10 position, and had one thought in his mind that he was getting a shot away, and it was very positive. Yes, it may have been going wide, but he'll be hoping that type of thing will inspire his team to go on, to go forward and cause Ospina a few more issues and make him start making some saves.
If Honda was to score at this World Cup, he'd be the first Japanese player to net at 3 different World Cup finals, and getting a sighter there from range. But Ospina has certainly been the busier of the 2 keepers in the second half, although he hasn't been forced into many taxing saves. There's been far less for Kawashima to do at the other end of the pitch. But as the game wears on, you just wonder when Colombia will say to themselves, you know what, a draw with 10 men after being dismissed or being reduced to 10 men after just 3 minutes isn't the worst result in the world. Honda has sent it wide for Haraguchi. Early delivery. Osaka on the turn, goes down. Oh, and drilled wide from 6 yards out. What an opportunity for Japan. David Ospina was helpless there. There were 2 or 3 chances for the Japanese. Osaka went down. It actually came off a Colombian player last. He just laid it off really well, and the hit that came in from Hiroki Sakai deflected away for a Japanese corner.
They finally got men into the penalty area, and as the ball is rolled into Osaka on the 6-yard line, men around him. Sakai came in and just got his shot blocked, unfortunately for a corner.
Honda's corner, it's in! Japan back in front! Yuya Osako guides the header in off the post, and Japan restore their advantage, and the shock may well be back on. Colombia have to come from behind again. It's Colombia 1, Japan 2.
Oh, it's great delivery from Honda, who's just come on the field to inspire his team, and Osako's just stood a yard inside the 6-yard area, probably a yard deeper the front post, and the ball, he's just challenged in the middle of 4 Colombian players, and the ball's landed right on his head. All he's done is jump into the air, hold off the defenders, and just guide it in off the far post. There was nothing really Ospina can do once he decided he wasn't coming for the cross, but it was a fantastic delivery from Honda, and probably an even better header by Osaka.
Had a bit of a wretched season domestically, Yuya Osako. Only 4 goals for Cologne as they finished bottom of the Bundesliga. He's since moved on and signed for Werder Bremen, so he will be playing in the German top tier next season, and he has put his nation back in front at the World Cup finals. And you got the feeling that it was perhaps coming, given the way the game had fallen into a pattern of Japan pressing and Colombia just launching the ball forwards, and so far James Rodriguez hasn't had a sniff for Colombia since his introduction. That might change here with Arias on the surge in the right back region for Colombia, looking to poke it through the centre to Baca, who's just come on. Now here is James Rodriguez, but he's going the wrong way. Picked it up 30 yards out from goal. He's now 40 yards away. Squares it for Barrios, who knocks it wide to Arias again. Santiago Arias back to Barrios, and Baca just showed a bit too much of it to the Japanese backline, and quickly into the challenge was Hasabi. Wilmar Barrios forced backwards to Davinson Sanchez on halfway for Colombia, and now it's Japan who are getting plenty of men back behind the ball, as you'd expect, and a horrible pass from Oscar Muria, trying to drill it to the left wing, drills it straight out of play.
Well, you were right, the goal was coming. Japan had been on the front foot for all of 15 minutes, and in the first half, when Japan had the ball, the Colombians were offering a counter-attack. They were worrying Japan. They were making them, keeping them honest, as we say, making them get back and defend. And for the last 15 minutes, it's been only Japan on the ball, and it looked like the Colombians had settled for a draw, but now they've now got to start coming out. Now they've eventually conceded.
Inui has it centre field for Japan. Makes a small dart forwards, and seeing a wall of yellow in front of him, opts to go backwards of square, and Japan can box clever now. Back in front with a touch under a quarter of an hour to go in this Group H opener. And on the move here is Shibasaki in the penalty area. His touch just deserted him at the crucial moment, though. Colombia clear up towards Radamel Falcao, who once again goes to ground and almost on autopilot now turns to look at the referee, expecting a free kick, and gets one on this occasion.
I think that's the first one he deserved, to be honest. I think he's been on the ground an awful lot in this game, and many of them weren't even fouls, but Yoshida just got too tight on that occasion. It got rolled and made sure that Falcao didn't get away, and he certainly earned that free kick, Falcao.
Davinson Sanchez to Arias, who's tight to the right touchline, has worked it infield, and Barrios is there as well. He's wriggled it forwards. That's a really good challenge, though, that comes in from Nagatomo, and it sets Japan about on the counter-attack. Honda over the halfway line, looking for options. He had Inui, but it's a horrific pass from him. Overhit, and Carlos Baca has it and has fed Falcao 20 yards out from goal. Angle against him. He's into the area now, and he's won the corner out of Yuto Nagatomo, and that was almost self-destruct stuff from Japan.
Yeah, it's better from Colombia, though. Yes, Honda did give the ball away very cheaply. Japan need to be aware of that, but once Falcao did get the ball, they had 2 men certainly all trying to get up, and they realised they need to go in search of this goal now. And for the previous 15 minutes, we hadn't seen them get over the halfway line. We will do now.
In comes the corner. Keeper thought about coming, thought better of it. Bailed out by his defence as Yoshida sends the header away to safety. Picked up just outside the centre circle, though, by Arias, and spun wide to Rodriguez. James Rodriguez down the line, and It's picked up by Lerma. Everson Lerma, lovely back heel. Rodriguez, chance, deflected over the top. That is splendid defending from Yuto Nagatomo. Flung his body in the way of it. James Rodriguez letting fly. I think it would have certainly been on target. It's going to be another corner taken by James Rodriguez, and it's not been fully dealt with. It's Bakker, and it's charged down once again, and all of a sudden Colombia have come back to life following that goal from Yuya Osako that's left them trailing again. Good corner, good cross rather, whipped in and gathered eventually by Kawashima. Well, where has this Colombia been hiding for the most of the second half?
That's what I was about to say. It just shows what damage that Colombia can do to this Japanese defensive line when they're prepared to put men forward. Yes, they were in the mindset of not conceding, but James Rodriguez, after a good bit of play, what a fantastic block that was. He was probably just on the corner of the 6-yard line, free shot with his left foot. And I actually think it's Osako, the centre forward, who comes across and makes one. It's a terrific block to send it out for a corner. They've had 2 other half chances since, a header at the back post from that corner, but Japan on the back foot at the moment and probably would like to take the sting out of this game.
Well, they are doing that right now because Gaku Shibasaki is intelligently, shall we say, going down with a spot of cramp, and that has just slowed things down. You see that a lot, don't you, Leon? When a team need to just take a bit of a breather, one of the players suddenly needs the magic sponge, and there is going to be a second change of the game, and perhaps I'm doing him a disservice because Shibasaki looks as though he is limping off after leaping into a challenge earlier and just coming off the worst for wear as we see the replay of it, and he's taking his time going off, mainly because of that challenge he was on the end of. So Japan about to use their second change of the piece, and Shibasaki is withdrawn, and on in his place is Yamaguchi, who some thought was going to start today. Shibasaki was somewhat a surprise starter. Here is Haraguchi now. The game back underway. Japan leading Colombia by 2-1, and just a touch over 10 minutes left to play. It's been a valiant effort from Colombia, who were reduced to 10 men just 3 minutes in when Carlos Sanchez was sent off, but there will be little charity from the Colombian press, you would have thought, if they were to lose to a Japan side who finished bottom of the group at the last World Cup after a 4-1 defeat to Colombia in their final group stage game. Brought forwards by Nagatomo now, knocked to the left and Inui, and again Japan just being deliberate and patient on the left wing, waiting for a gap to emerge, and when it doesn't, Inui goes all the way back to Shoji, who squares to Yoshida. No pressure on the ball at the moment, so Japan just caressing it around at the back. Hasabi now injects a bit of pace into it. Hasabi in possession just shy of the halfway line, goes back to Shoji, who squares to Yoshida.
That's good from Japan, just keeping the ball, making the Colombians come and press them, which should make the pitch bigger and open up spaces for the guys like Honda and Inui coming in off the wide areas to be able to get into some really big pockets.
On the move now is Kazuki Honda, who created the goal for Japan, the second goal for Japan, not long after his introduction from the bench with a fine corner nodded in by Yuya Osako. That's set to be the match winner with only 9 minutes of normal time left to play, and Colombia looking a little bit bereft now after they had that really good purple patch not that long ago. Yamaguchi's delivery towards Osako, and his header lacks the required direction and drifts well wide for a goal kick.
Yeah, you can see how hard Colombia have had to work for the 80 minutes that we've had in this game so far. They've worked their socks off to make sure that they're in this game come the 80-minute mark, but you can see when the Japanese are brave on the ball and keep good possession, they're finding it very difficult at this late stage to have enough energy to win that ball back.
Yoshida all the way back to his goalkeeper Kawashima, who has not had a great deal to do this afternoon. Bar picked the ball out of the back of the net, long ball over the top, could catch out Colombia here. Osako challenged by Davinson Sanchez, who once again was a bit slow off the mark, and that's how the opening goal of the game came about. This time the Spurs man showing good strength just to lever Osako off it and come away with possession.
Yeah, I think he was just stronger in the end, but it was just but once Colombia tried to press Japan, and it was just a long punt up the field, and as a midfielder, when you go into press, if you can force the opposition to play a long ball, you expect your centre halves to deal with anything that goes over the top, to go on and win it, or see a centre forward out. And Sanchez was half asleep. He allowed Osako to run in behind him towards the edge of the penalty area. He was just fortunate. His pace and strength got him out of trouble.
We've got two more games for you on 5 Live today. The second game in Group H is at 4 o'clock, Poland against Senegal in Moscow. And then at 7 o'clock, it's the hosts, Russia, back in action. The start of the second round of matches. They are facing Egypt in St. Petersburg. We'll bring you commentary on both of those games, as well as the latest from Andy Murray's return to action at Queen's, the ODI between England and Australia. If England win, they win the series, and it's the first day of Royal Ascot as well. 5 Live Sport with you until 9:30 this evening, and it's been an exhilarating start to the action today. Japan heading for a surprise victory against the 10 men of Colombia, and they're in possession now in the centre circle with their skipper Hasabi, who's going to just spread out wide to find Hiroki Sakai. Sakai taking his time, Nagatomo in there as well, and it's all very deliberate, very patient, and at the moment they're just looking at the clock more than anything. Nagatomo for Japan now moves forwards. It's on the left wing for Japan, and they opt to go all the way back, and patient, frustrating stuff for Colombia.
It is, it's very difficult to, as I mentioned before, it must be hot down there. They've worked tremendously hard. Japan's only issue at the moment is they've just got to be careful that they're not making passes for the sake of it, that there is going to be some end product at the end of it.
Substitution is being made. We'll tell you more about that in a minute, but let's get an update from the cricket. Eleanor Aldroyd's at Trentbridge.
And England are 67 without loss after 9 overs. Jason Roy is on 36. Johnny Bairstow is on 30. We saw a huge 6 from Jason Roy over the Fox Road stand. Both batsmen have survived appeals. Roy for caught behind, and Bairstow just the last over for LBW. But no luck for Australia. They are having anything bad punished by these England batsmen. 67 without loss after 9, and you can watch that Roy 6 if you go to the BBC Sport website and you go to the live text section.
Thanks very much, Ellie. There's also commentary, of course, on Sports Extra on TMS, the substitution that has taken place. Shinji Okazaki, who, like James Rodriguez, was thought to have been ruled out of this one with a calf injury, is on for the man whose goal looks set to be the match winner, Yuya Osako, making way. And there's going to be a yellow card for James Rodriguez after he lunged in on halfway, and the frustration starting to boil over now for Colombia.
Yeah, that's what it was, frustration. Japan have kept the ball so well for the past 5 minutes, though, and it was Haraguchi who just got turned and started running forwards, and it was a terrible tackle from James Rodriguez. He just hacked him down from behind, and potentially the referee may have looked at as a red card. It was one of those that he had no chance of winning the ball, and he just hacked him down.
So Okazaki is on for Japan, who have used all 3 of their substitutes now and just need to use their guile to run down the clock, really, with that man advantage that they have enjoyed ever since the 3rd minute onwards, when Carlos Sanchez was dismissed for Colombia for handball, which led to the penalty converted by Kagawa. Levelled up by Quintera's free kick, but Osako's headed a difference now, and Japan one more goal and they can really start to relax, and they're in possession on the right side of the pitch. It's Haraguchi who has it. He's had a very tidy game, actually, Genki Haraguchi. Japan very much unfancied, thought by a lot to be the contenders to finish bottom of Group H, but they're set to start their campaign with a victory. And as we've seen in the other groups as well, that really does upset the apple cart when you get a surprise result like that. It suddenly means that Colombia will be in a must-win situation going into their next group game, perhaps.
It really does. It opens up this group like we didn't believe it would. And, you know, we do have a little eye on this one. This is the group that England will potentially place a team from in the round of 16. So, you know, to see the games going like this, to see what everybody expected as a strong Colombia team come up against a really tough game down to 10 men in Japan, and now have to win the next 2. opens it all up.
Japan have it with Haraguchi, who's already starting to run down towards the corner flag, but he loses possession there. It's out for a throw to Colombia. Japan's next game is against Senegal on Sunday in Yekaterinburg, and on that same day Colombia face Poland in Kazan, and then on Thursday the 28th, Japan against Poland in Volgograd, and Senegal against Colombia in Samara. So big game for Colombia next, potentially against Poland. That's not going to be easy, and they might go into that one knowing defeat spells the end of their World Cup already for the team that made it through to the quarter-finals at the last tournament. It's back with the Japanese goalkeeper Kawashima. Japan leading 2-1 with 2 minutes of normal time left to play, and it's another robust challenge over on the far side, and Japan waiting for a free kick that's not coming their way. Honda's gone across to close down the space. On the move now, though, is Yohan Mojica, the left-back, playing as an auxiliary left winger now, and he's done really well to wrestle possession back for Colombia, making his way to the edge of the area. Falcao waited too long, and Makoto Hasabi stepped in, and the Japanese skipper smashes the ball away. And now it's a Colombian player down, needing treatment in Yohan Mojica, although he will want to get to his feet as quickly as possible with the seconds ticking away for Colombia.
It's just cramp. I mentioned how well he played before. He drove all by himself up that left-hand side, then he took it past two players, lost the ball, won it back, lost it again, won it back again, and ended up going into the Japanese penalty area with the ball, and he's forced a throw-in for his team in that far corner.
Well, we have got just a minute of normal time left to play. Can Japan hold out for what would be a famous victory for them? They came into the World Cup in a pretty poor form, really. Beat Paraguay in their final warm-up game, but that their only win in 5 matches this year. Defending to do here as the cross is whipped into the far post, and Arias gets it back into the danger zone. Falcao back across goal, 6 yards out, and the whistle has gone for offside, and that will be a sigh of relief for Japan as their attentions now turn across to the fourth official to see how long is left to play.
Yeah, Falcao was eventually offside, but the first ball in from Mojica again on that left side was an incredible ball. It had all the whip and dip that you ask for right across the 6-yard line, and there was 2 Colombian players going for it. Neither could get on the end of it, and as the cross came back in from the right, Falcao was just offside.
5 minutes additional time for Japan to see out and for Colombia to try to utilise to rescue a point from this opening game. They trail 2-1, 5 minutes of stoppage time, which we're into now, and Japan have a free kick deep in Colombian territory after Kazuki Honda used all of his experience just to draw the foul. Damir Scamina explaining to the Colombian players and to James Rodriguez, who's already on a booking, so needs to watch his mouth, why the foul was awarded. And this will eat up at least another minute, because there will be a limp across to take it, and then they'll take it short. Kazuki Honda, they're actually taking it quicker than I expected, and Honda has lost possession. He's fortunate that Okazaki snapped into the challenge just outside the Colombian penalty area, and Japan have managed to win it back, and they'll just pass it around along their back line, try to run down the clock, which still has 4 minutes of stoppage time left to play. Belted forwards by Yoshida to no one in particular, so David Ospina can come to the edge of his area and gather, and immediately spins it outside of his box so he can clear with his feet and gets good distance on that clearance as well. Yoshida was asking for a foul pleadingly against Falcao, nothing doing from the referee though, so Colombia still have it. They need to get the ball forwards. That's a fair challenge by Haraguchi, and then Haraguchi's dispossessed as well. James Rodriguez on the move. Haraguchi gets back and makes the challenge. Throw to Colombia, which is taken now in centre field for Colombia, but they've had to go backwards, so they're going to go all the way back to David Ospina, which the Colombian fans don't like at all, with only 3 or so minutes of the additional 5 signalled remaining.
Well, they're playing longer balls forward now, but they've not added one of their centre-halves up alongside Falcao. Falcao's still quite isolated up front, and it just seems silly to play long balls up there if you've only got Falcao in that area.
Maria sending a fairly aimless ball forwards, which Kawashima has gathered, and he will take as long as he can before dispatching this ball back into play. It's she bowled out wide to Hiroki Sakai, the right back, getting forwards. Japan just needs a box clever here. Kazuki Honda was hoping for a foul after being buffeted from behind. The referee wasn't interested, and Colombia come forwards now. Is there a sting in the tail? Is there yet another late goal at this World Cup of late goals? And there's a free kick Japan's way, 10 yards outside the box after Arias' challenge. And again, that will just give Japan a breather.
Yeah, it was great tracking back from Inui. His team were just in a little bit of trouble, and he spotted the danger, got back in front of Arias, and ended up earning his team a foul. And he's been terrific at both ends of the field, Inui. His finishing probably hasn't been as powerful as his team would have liked, but he really has contributed to this game.
At their 5 previous World Cups, Japan won their opening game just the once when they beat Cameroon 1-0 in 2010, but they are now just 90 seconds or so away from registering a victory in their Group H opener, and the ball is just where they want to see it at the moment, down towards the Colombian penalty area. Hasibi with the challenge, just shy of halfway as well. Yoshida with a back pass that doesn't have enough on it, but fortunately for him, Shoji, his fellow centre-back, has guided it all the way back to Kawashima, who has ensured there's plenty of distance on his clearance. And Haraguchi trying to make something of it on the right wing for Japan. Colombia clear their lines, but it should be easy enough for Yoshida, who goes for a shoveled shoulder, which he didn't really need to do there, and the ball is squirted out of play for a throw to Colombia. Needless concession of possession there, and Colombia with a chance to break forwards quickly, but they waste that opportunity after Baka floats it over the top from a left wing position, and with that Colombia's final chance may have evaporated.
Well, Japan causing their own problems again. Panic, getting caught in possession at the back. They're in the last minute of a game where they're winning with a numerical advantage, and they're still giving the ball away cheaply.
40 seconds of stoppage time left to play. The Japanese fans in fine voice, one of them with a megaphone geeing them up. They won't need much geeing up though if they can hold on to this, and they've managed to poke the ball out for a throw down towards the Colombian end. Well, there are only 30 seconds of stoppage time left. Colombia will have to score from this passage of possession. They've got it on halfway with Arias, who's going to be able to surge forwards with Japan sitting very deep. Arias halfway inside Japanese territory, plays the square pass towards Barrios. It's floated towards the edge of the area, and Rodriguez underneath it, headed back towards Rodriguez, and smashed away needlessly by Nagatomo for a Colombian corner. In fact, a Colombian throw. It looked like it had maybe gone out. It's all over. Japan have done it. Colombia have been beaten. What a moment for Japan. So unfancied coming into this game. 90% of the population felt they didn't have a chance of getting through the group, but they have beaten Colombia in their opening match. They have won by 2-1, and Leon Osman, on the balance of play, they deserved it.
Yeah, I'd say so. Obviously, the Colombians going down to 10 men so early in the game played a major factor in the outcome, but barring a 20-minute period where Colombia really did play their part in the first half and eventually get their goal, apart from that, Japan played really well. They dominated the ball. They needed half-time so that their manager could show them exactly the way he wanted them to play second half. But second half, they were terrific. They probed, they went from side to side, they created chances. They eventually started getting people into the penalty area and got that winning goal.
Well, plenty of action. We've had a controversial refereeing decision, a penalty, a red card, a fabulous goal, and another surprise result. A good start to the day in terms of World Cup action. The full time score: Colombia 1, Japan 2.